I admit it, another hoe got me finished. Broke my heart, oh no you didn't. Fuck sipping, I'ma down a whole bottle.
June 21st. I graduated high school today, and it's only a few days until my 18th birthday. I started to think of a career I might like, but haven't come up with anything concrete. There was an army recruiter who came to school throughout the year asking for 17 and 18-year-olds to enlist. Not sure if I do want to enlist, but I want to keep it in the back of my mind as a possibility. August 14th. The summer is almost over, and I can't decide if I want to go to college or find a job. I took a part-time job helping out a small moving company in town, so there was some cash in my pocket. I tried to devote my free time into thinking about my future, but there are too many things to consider, and I can't make up my mind. I might call a recruiter, since I found his card mixed in with my schoolwork as I went through it. September 1st. I made the call to Sergeant Grains last night, and had an interesting talk. He told me of all the great benefits of enlisting, and said just by talking to him that he saw a lot of potential in me. We set up a date to meet each other face to face, so he could give me some information about the army and such. After I got off the phone with him, my consideration for joining up with the military became more present in my mind. I guess after I meet and go over things with Sergeant Grains, I might be able to make up my mind. September 9th. I had my meeting with Sergeant Grains today, and after walking out of his office, I knew what I wanted to do. I became the newest member of the United States Army. I was so proud of my decision that I wore my pride on my shoulder as I drove home. Now, all I have to do is tell my parents. September 12th. So, I told them about my decision, and their reaction was a 50-50 right down the middle. My mom busted out in tears the moment after I told them, and my dad grabbed my hand and shook it for a solid 2 minutes. My mom kept going on about me being the only child, and that I was her baby, and this and that. My dad, on the other hand, was so happy that I wanted to help defend America and what she stands for, that he offered any assistance whenever it was needed. After some time, I was able to calm my mom down and explain to her why I was doing this. I told her it was the only thing for now that I see in my future. I said that I want to help make a difference and protect our nation's virtues. She understood and gave her blessing. I assured her that I wasn't going to let myself end up in any real danger, and that I will always be able to make my way home. There's only a short time until I have to go for basic training, so I will prepare myself as much as I can. September 25th. Today I arrived at Fort AP Hill to start my basic training. I was so pumped the moment I stepped off the bus. As I scanned the area, I noticed there were some of those Pokemon around, either working on things around the base or standing beside certain people. I don't know much about them since my town didn't have any Pokemon trainers, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I just hope I can get through everything easily enough. Tonight, I'm going to take a long walk around the base just to understand my surroundings more. September 26th. Today was my first real day of basic training. Boy, was it tough. I've done more sit-ups and push-ups today than I have done in my entire life. But I managed to do well in my fitness training. So tomorrow I move on to my combat training. Then after that, weapon training. October 17th. Though I've been training for the last 3 weeks, it definitely doesn't feel that long. So much has happened and so much I have learned. We started with formation march that was oh so fun, and did some basic combat training. That was really fun. According to my sergeant, he wouldn't want to be the enemy and come face to face with me in the bush. We had to do some map reading, but that was easy since I did orienteering in the Boy Scouts when I was younger. But the grueling stuff was waiting to kick our butts. We had to challenge the obstacle course the other privates nicknamed Satan's Playground. It most definitely lived up to that name. We had to wall climb an 80-foot vertical wall, had to hand climb across a half-mile gap without slipping at all, and run through the tires over and over again. Took me a little while to do the whole thing flawlessly, but I did it, and was commended for it. After all that, we did classroom stuff that educated us on what to expect and core values, so we understood what it meant to be a leader. We then got our butts kicked again as we did our gas chamber training, where we learned firsthand how to handle if we had to get through an area that had gas. The last part was first aid and basic weapons training. Again, first aid was easy because of my scouting experience. The weapon part was a little tricky since we had to take our weapons apart, clean them, and reassemble them. The easy part was training on marksmanship and learning about the weapons themselves. I am not quite sure what the next part of our training is, but I'm totally game. October 28th. Well, I am now quite proficient in weapons handling and firing. We had to go through the obstacle course again, but this time I was assigned a battle buddy. His name is Donnie, and he and I have a lot in common. We become good friends in and out of our training sessions. We worked really well on our training together, and I can honestly say that I wouldn't want to work with anyone else. We both passed and are moving on to the last part of our training, which I hear is the hardest part of all of our training. With Donnie and I working together, we'll get through it with no problem. November 22nd. That was truly hardcore, and that is all I can do to describe about what I just went through. The nighttime stuff was crazy, and I can tell his training is really accurate to the real thing. The funny thing is, I was the only one in our platoon that liked MREs. I usually get seconds or thirds because the others gave me theirs. Donnie and I ended up in the same platoon, so we did very well. We were told our platoon did the best in the groups that were training. With training done and graduation at the end of the week, I'm just going to take some time to relax. January 1st. Spending the holidays with my family was great, especially since I hadn't seen them since I left for basic training. But while I was home, I did some thinking. I wanted to climb through the ranks and become a lieutenant. January 21st. I returned to Fort AP Hill to continue my army career. I know it's going to be a long career, but I'm up for it. Whatever I need to do to become lieutenant, I'll do it. I met up with Donnie again. Ironically, he wants to do the same thing as me, and hopefully the two of us can become lieutenants together. Time to travel down that long road, but I know I will get there with determination and patience. May 5th. It's been a real long time since I wrote in this journal. Probably about 20 to 25 years now. After reading my last entry, I saw that I was on my way to becoming lieutenant. Not only did I become lieutenant, but I am the best lieutenant the U.S. Army has ever seen. A big part of my success is based mostly on my attentiveness. During my early training, I learned to be alert and cautious of my surroundings. After becoming sergeant, I always taught my recruits the attentiveness I learned. I have manned hundreds of platoons with thousands of soldiers throughout my military career, and each of them succeeding in their own victories. During my time in the military, I noticed the use of Pokemon started to increase, but I still can't understand why these creatures are being used. Not once did I use a Pokemon on my way to Lieutenant. I really don't feel that Pokemon are that useful, and don't think I will ever use one. By the time I'm writing in this, I was told that our troops were called into action to serve in a war located in a region called Kanto. I have to make my preparations and get ready to move out. May 13th. Our troops arrived in Kanto and are ready to mobilize. Our first order is to join Lieutenant Roscoe, Donnie's platoon, and scan the area for enemy troops. Once we get off this jeep, my experience will finally be put to use. I finally get to see what I've been training for most of my life. May 14th. It is true what they say about war. It truly is ugly. The tragic reality has finally set in. A good friend of mine lost his life today. Lieutenant Roscoe and his platoon were searching in the western section of our search grip and came upon a rogue camp, which they were surprised to find and came under fire. Most of the platoon didn't make it out. The two that did were greatly wounded. There's nothing that can really express my sadness for the loss of a longtime friend. I vowed to take his belongings home and inform his family. I really hope this war will end soon. I don't like having these emotions clouding my judgment. May 16th. As I write this entry, my platoon and I are pinned down by enemy forces. My platoon was on a mission to secure a supply truck carrying our own supplies that got stranded too close to enemy lines. As we closed in on the truck, the enemy got the jump on us and commenced fire. We are not sure if we can fend them off, but with my lead, I'm sure we. Journal entry cuts off abruptly. May 22nd. I am writing this in a Kanto emergency medical tent. Apparently, from what the doctor has told me, I have a heart defect that has only just recently taken home in my chest. During the time we were pinned, I went into a sudden cardiac arrest. For me, everything went black, and the next thing I remember is waking up in this medical tent. Since I was now awake, I was being transported to our own medical facility. I'm going to take a short break and rest up. After talking to my soldiers during the ride to our side, they told me what had happened. During the firefight, I went into cardiac arrest and blacked out. My platoon tried to get me up to a US medical facility and realized it would be too far to get me to one and had to rush me to a Kanto one instead. That was relatively close. There was a little turmoil at first when they brought me there, but the Hippocratic Oath was mentioned, and that was that. But I wasn't out of the woods yet. The generator that supplied power went down, and I needed a jolt to get me going again. Without that power, that wasn't going to happen. What happened next really saved my life. A Kanto soldier stepped up and lent a hand by using a Pokemon he had with them. The Pokemon was something called a Raichu, and it was able to generate the proper power needed to run the machines to keep me alive. I owe my life to that soldier and his Raichu. My opinion on Pokemon has changed greatly since they saved my life. I will not speak badly about them. June 25th. I have fully recovered from my heart attack and the war is over. During my last checkup, I was told I had to give up being in the military. My heart has become too weak after the heart attack, and any strenuous activity could cause another possible fatal one. I was distraught at first, realizing the one thing I loved to be a part of, I could no longer do. I remembered hearing that there was a need for Pokemon gym leaders in the Kanto region, and I knew the first Pokemon I wanted to raise was a Raichu. I began to pump myself up for my new career. The Kanto region is going to be rocked and shocked by the greatest gym leader there ever was. Be careful, Pokemon trainers. Lieutenant Surge is here, and he won't go down easily.